I'm father now? Oh, God. You do not want me to be dad. I'll be irresponsible, lose the kids, all that stuff. How's it going, man?
I'm vibing, honestly.
Good. Your panel was great.
Thanks.
Yeah. Hey, everyone. How's it going? I'm gonna use the handheld if that's cool. So, how many of you are from San Jose? Oh, cool. Who traveled really far to get here? Nice. Where did you travel from?
Eureka. Like 6 hours, 7 hours worth.
Oh, okay. Florida.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
Unfortunately. Where did you come from?
Michigan.
Michigan? Hell yeah. Okay. You in the back with the hoodie. Yeah. Monterey. Okay, cool. Well, hello. My name's Jirard. I'm known as the Completionist. I came from LA, so it was a very easy flight for me. I didn't have to travel far, so it was very easy. Show of hands, who doesn't know who I am? Just to be honest, it's okay. Great. If you don't know who I am, we have a very bad working relationship. So a little background on who I am. My name's Jirard. I'm known as the Completionist. I've been on YouTube for 11 years. I have a boy band called Big Bad Bosses. Thank you. We've won a bunch of dumb awards no one's ever heard of, and we charted #1 on comedy for a month. We pissed off Patton Oswalt and some other comedians because they couldn't take us off the charts. It was very fun. Yeah. I definitely got a lot of like, who the hell are these guys? What is Big Bad Bosses? Nowadays, I am a host on the rebooted G4TV. I'm on TV now. It's weird to say. And I have a TV show coming out next week called God of Work. It's basically The Office meets video game characters, and I play Kratos. And I am a misogynistic, sexist, racist asshole. So it'll be a fun time. Not really who I am, by the way, in case you didn't pick up on that. But yeah.
Oh, that you're not? That's a deal breaker. I quit.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
I think I went to the wrong show then. I'm sorry. Yeah, so I'm here today to talk about my path in music with Big Bad Bosses specifically. This is Ben Briggs. You all know Ben. But I know Ben... probably the first time we met was Con Bravo, I believe.
Con Bravo, I was wearing my own T-shirt.
Yeah.
Setting up for the rave, and you walked up to me, and you were like, Ben Briggs, I love Benjamin Briggs. I love Ben Briggs. And I'm like, I am Ben Briggs. And you're like, oh my God, I'm a huge fan. And then we hugged, and the rest was history.
Yeah, and that was the same weekend we met Grant Kirkhope, who we were both fanboying over, who we're now good friends with, which is super weird to say because it was like an accident. He just was a very nice guy.
He's accidentally a very nice guy.
We didn't know he was nice, okay? We were very intimidated by a BAFTA award-winning composer.
He might as well have been like a floating, glowing Banjo-Kazooie cartridge. And
yeah.
We were just like, how did you do it? And he's like, I don't know,
how did you get
man.
here?
Just another day in the office for him.
Yeah. Funny thing about Grant Kirkhope, after the weekend we met him, he and I and Andre from Black Nerd Comedy were on the LA train or LA flight from Toronto back to LA, and our flight got delayed because of weather. So I thought it'd be really stupid. Hey, the movie Pixels just came out in theaters. We should go see it because that's going to be a train wreck. And Grant and Andre both said, hell yes. So we went to the theater on the way to the airport. We got a couple of drinks. And then we bitterly sat there and watched the movie. It was not a good time. It was not funny, in my opinion. And we all suffered that day. But
I don't think that's a controversial opinion that Pixels was bad.
Who's seen Pixels? Anyone know what I'm talking about? Okay, I'm going to spoil Pixels for you guys. You ready? It ends with Josh Gad sleeping with Qbert, and then Qbert has children with him. No, I'm just telling you the truth. That's how it happens. The movie ends. Yeah.
I know this, now you have to know this.
Exactly. Look, the weight...
That's an information hazard.
Exactly. The weight of knowing this awful burden of movie is real. But Grant Kirkhope is a great place to start for this because Grant is my favorite composer in the video game space. I know he's one of Ben's big idols.
Way up there.
Yeah, and so a year after I met Grant Kirkhope, I started getting the itch to do music stuff. I've always been a music performer, whether it's playing drums, singing in musicals, or dancing in shows. Like I've always just been a musical theater kid at heart. And when my career on YouTube started taking off, I was like, how do I incorporate music into what I do? Because for those of you who don't know what I do, I complete a game every week. And I make a whole video about my journey, and it sucks. It's like watching a man slowly go crazy. Yeah, exactly.
No, I've seen the streams. I've watched your soul leave your body so many times.
Yes. I'm pretty sure this is like a CG husk here. I'm still back in LA. But I've always wanted to do music stuff and incorporate it into my career. So about 4 or 5 years into doing it, my career was at a pretty good spot, and I was like, how do I make this a fun music thing? So at the time, I had just become really good friends with the game company called Yacht Club Games. They made Shovel Knight. They had just made Shovel Knight, so they were on cloud 9 having a great time, and I was getting to know those guys really well. And I had known Jake Kaufman before Shovel Knight. He introduced me to the Yacht Club guys. And so at the launch party of Plague Knight, that DLC, when that came out, I got invited to the Yacht Club house, and we had too many drinks, and I was like, man, I had this dumb idea for a comedy band that I'd love to make, but I don't think anyone thinks it's a good idea. And Jake was like, oh, I'll hear it. And I was like, okay, so Bowser, Ganondorf, Sephiroth, and Robotnik are in a boy band. And he was like, I'm in. That was it. And I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, I'll do the music. And I was like, I wasn't even asking you, but if you want to do the music, I am all for it. And he was like, yeah, that sounds fun as hell. I don't want to do Shovel Knight music anymore. I want to do boy band music now because of you. And I was like, oh shit, I'm sorry. So I got into a fight with the Yacht Club's game director, Sean, because he was like, hey, I think Jake and I just stole Jake. I'm sorry. So a week went by, and I just thought, oh, Jake probably forgot. But then he called me and said, yo, when are we going to make this boy band album? And I was like, you're serious? You want to make it with me? He goes, hell yeah, I do. Who would listen to boy band music in 2016, 2015? And I was like, no one, but I want to do it. He's like, well, I want to do it. And I said, great, let's do it. So I had been working on this prototype for Big Bad Boss since I first started in my YouTube career in 2011. And I just didn't know how to do it because there was no thing on YouTube. There was no great almighty thing to do this. It just was like, I make a video and maybe people watch, and that was the YouTube space. Nowadays, there's musicians and performers all over the place that are like, here's a great album I made that you can now ingest and enjoy. And so that was kind of where we started, was how do we make a boy band album in 2015 when boy bands are basically gone. This is before the rise of BTS and all the Korean...
I was going to say, except in Korea.
Yeah, well, in Korea, the pop scene was building like a tidal wave, just kind of coming towards us. But at least when it came to the YouTube space, there was no music comedy group at the time. The only one that existed was Starbomb. And Aaron and I are very close friends, and I had to like tell him, hey, I'm doing a comedy band thing. I hope you don't think I'm copying you. And he's like, they're going to say we're going to copy each other no matter what. And I was like, does that mean you're on the album? And he's like, yup. And I'm like, great. So, yeah, so we got together. We got sushi up in Valencia, and I pitched the entire arc. And, you know, you got Little Bow, which is me, Ronick, which was Alex Faciani. Satchel Drakes ended up being G-Cash or Ganondorf. And then Nate Wants to Battle was Sephi or Sephiroth. And so that was our lineup. And Jake was like, this is going to be great. We're going to do this. So we sat around. I didn't smoke weed. I still don't smoke weed. But Jake is like a dragon who's always high. So his eyes are always red, and you can't meet him like not high. It's a part of his DNA. He just breathes weed into you. He's that kind of guy. And him and Alex would just every morning. We were recording the album, I think, for 3 months straight. I was working out of Jake's studio, completing games, streaming, taking business meetings. Wow. Basically, like it was my home. And in one studio, I was doing all my work, and in the other, he was writing, recording, pulling people in. And so the whole point of the album was we wanted to make a really good sounding boy band album without anyone thinking that it was a joke. So if you were like, I don't know what a video game is, great, you didn't need to, because this album is a banger, and if you like boy band music, you're going to really dig it. So how do you do that when the crux of this whole thing is Bowser, Ganondorf, Sephiroth, and Robotnik are singing about the princesses they'll never get? And so that was kind of the whole conceit of it, right? Like there's a song called Princess, and it's about respecting women for being princesses, but also like, hey, can we date because you're a princess? Like this, like how do you do this like perfectly even-keeled kind of thing? We have a song called Anger Management where it's like the boys go to a therapist and they share their origin story about how they have to overcome being a bad guy, but at the behest of like actually being a good guy. And then of course every character has their own character song. So every single track is a combination of really inspired music from pop culture that people don't even know. So for instance, Robotnik has a song called Eggman, and it's very much like I wish we had a way to play music on Spotify via my phone. That's the one thing I didn't think about.
I was supposed to have a laptop, but United Airlines boned me on that, so I apologize. I was gonna hook you up, but you know,
that's all good.
Shout outs to United Airlines.
Thank you, United. But yeah, so for the song Eggman, it's about how Eggman is obsessed with eggs. He's obsessed being egg shape, and he wants everyone to be obsessed with eggs. And we just thought, how do we make the Mambo number 5 of the modern generation, and how does that get conveyed? And so while no one knows what Mambo number 5 is by Lou Bega nowadays, if you play Lou Bega's Mambo number 5, it lines up perfectly with Eggman. There are dumb Easter eggs like that all over the album that it just went over their head because they're like, this is just a really fun, good album. If you take Ganondorf's song Capture You, it's about how Ganondorf is trying to, why he captures Princess Zelda and how he loves her and he like is sharing his heart with her. And as you listen to it, he's not talking about Zelda, he's talking about Link and how he wants to be with Link instead. And but the harmonies of it, the harmonies of the whole song, if you're listening, it's Zelda's lullaby, like verbatim. It's like da na 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 the whole time, and you don't even notice because you're like, this guy is just singing about Princess Zelda, and then twist, it's not Zelda. So there's a lot of little cool Easter eggs like that. There's a couple. I think one of my favorite tracks on the album is called Minions, and it's basically like the 4 of them pouring out a drink in honor of all the minions that die on their behalf, which was very inspired by Bone Thugs and Harmony. If you guys know what that is. Yeah, there we go. The song Crossroads was like the hugest inspiration, seeing it at the crossroads. So it's just like this whole thing about how like, they're like pouring one out for a Goomba that died. And there's like a part where Met drops a sick rap about how he's sick of dying for the bosses, and because they just keep replacing him over and over again.
The Goombas do kind of do it to themselves, though, don't they?
That's true.
They just walk right into those pits.
That's true. They don't do
Not
anything else but die.
Not a lot of self-preservation on those guys.
Yeah, really, really. And then my favorite track that no one really talks about because it's hard to believe is Grant Kirkhope and how this story gets involved. So 6 months after Ben and I met Grant Kirkhope, I called Grant on a whim and I was like, hey, I love the DK rap. I think the DK rap is amazing. And he goes, oh, well, that almost ruined my career. I made the DK rap and no one wanted to work with me ever again. And I was like, that sucks. You made the freaking DK rap. You made the GoldenEye chill-ass pause music. Like, you're the best. And he's like, yeah, well, sometimes you make stuff and people remember you for the stuff that is bad, and they think fondly so that's good. And I said, hey, what if we wrote a gangster rap that's about your redemption? And he was like, what do you mean? And I go, tell everyone how you freaking feel. So tell it from your chest. Tell them that you are Grant Kirkhope. You're the motherfucking best. And he was like, okay, sure. I don't know how to rap. And I was like, oh, don't worry about that. We'll take care of that for you. And so he came in the studio. I had a rule that if you were coming in the studio, you had to sign an NDA because we didn't want to leak the music. And there were some folks who tried to leak the music, so that's why I made him sign an NDA. You just have to do business that way. And when Grant Kirkhope came in the building, there was a few individuals who were like, we're not going to sign the NDA. And I had to go, do you want to meet Grant Kirkhope? And they were like, what? I was like, yeah, he's coming in the building. I was like, oh, yeah, I want to meet him. And I was like, then you have to sign the NDA. And without even question, they were like, all right, I'm ready to meet Grant Kirkhope. Like immediately after.
Which is hilarious because Grant is like the most approachable, down to earth dude.
I had to tell him to like go get coffee.
Yeah, you do not have to bribe Grant to talk to you. Like he's literally the chillest.
Yeah.
He gave me a little. I was DMing him before I came here because. Sorry to interject.
No, go for it.
I ended up remixing this track that he's talking about because you asked me to, and he knew how much of a fan I was of Grant's and how we'd all become friends. And Grant changed my life. He inspired me to realize that you are your idols and you can be whatever you want to be. But I'm going to be playing that remix at the rave tomorrow because you're here, obviously. Yeah. Like I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah.
And so I messaged Grant and I was like, hey, I thought of you because I'm going to play this remix. And he said, ha, have fun, Ben. That was fun to do, even though I promised my wife I wouldn't swear. And he said, I tried for like 5 minutes. Epic fail. And so I said, asking Grant Kirkhope not to swear is like asking grass not to grow. And he had referenced earlier in the conversation that he thought he was old. And I'm like, no, you're not old. And then he said epic fail. And I was like, okay, you're old. I thought I was old. I'm not walking around saying epic fail. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway.
So funny story about the swearing thing. So Grant Kirkhope, he comes to the studio, and he's like, hey, I've got an hour, mate. Let's do this. I'm like, all right, sure. So
impeccable impression.
Thank you. Thank you. You what? Hey. So he comes in the room. He had never read or heard the song. He just got the lyrics and was like, oh, this is really funny. And so Jake was like, all right, go ahead. And then he looked at it and he line read the rap as if he was born to play this role of himself. And he did it in one take, never hearing the music, just was like, boom, 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 boom. He recorded his whole song in 9 minutes.
Legend.
And we sat there in shock, and he's like, all right, I gotta get my kids from school, bye, and just left. We're like, are you kidding me? Legendary composer walks in, doesn't know what's going on, doesn't know the music, sees the rap lyrics, laughs at it, performs it like his life depends on it, and then bounces to go get his kids from daycare. Like, that's how dedicated he was. And so I remember the week we were about to release the album, I called Grant, and the whole bit was we wanted. So this rap is filthy. It is filthy. It's like Grant Kirkhope says the worst things on planet Earth. He calls himself the twerk pope. Says that his
twerk pope is a highlight for sure.
Yeah, he talks about the English trifle, which is a sex position that I didn't understand. Like, it's like he says really gross things, British slang, American slang aside, and. The song is called Bears and Birds, and we called it Bears and Birds because of Banjo-Kazooie, but also because we had Banjo and Kazooie sound effects that would censor Grant every time he said something gross. So by the end of the song, it's like, like it's supposed to cover the whole thing. But we heard and we told Grant, don't worry about it. It's gonna be censored. It's gonna be censored. He's like, great. The album's about to come out, and I had to call Grant and go, hey, Grant, we heard the track. It sounds so funny without the censors. I need you to be okay with saying the swear words. And his wife was in the car, and she was like, can we hear it? And I sat there and was like, I can send it to you, Mrs. Kirkhope. I don't think you're going to change your mind. You're not going to like it. And Grant's like, oh, it can't be that bad. And I was like, oh, it's amazing. There's nothing wrong with it. You just have to live with the fact that this is going to be great, and it might either hurt or elevate your career. And so he's like, send it over. So we send it over. He calls back like 10 minutes later. He's trying his best not to laugh because he thinks it's incredibly funny. And his wife is pissed. Just sitting in the car like, your kids are going to hear that when they're older, you know that. Like very, very certain on the fact that we're going to get in trouble here. And I lied.
And they got divorced.
And they got divorced. And that's why he's no longer Grant Kirkhope. I told him that I was like, well, what if we released both? So we'll release the Bears and Birds cut as a bonus track, and then on the other half we won't have it. And they were like, sure, that sounds great. The album comes out. One of the most played tracks is the uncensored, filthy, raunchy version. And I had to explain to his kids years later what the English trifle was, and that was very uncomfortable. But at least I did it so he didn't have to. So I took it upon myself. But every time I see Grant, he's always like, you know, my wife hates you. I was like, I'm sorry, Grant.
These are sacrifices I'm willing to make for art. Art.
Look, you said yes. It's not my fault you did an impeccable job.
I didn't even know there was a censored version because you just sent me the stems to remix it, and I really leaned into the chorus of the remix is just him repeating "I'm Grant Kirkhope" just over and over and over again, and I auto-tuned it to make it melodic because I not to interject again, but it really is perfect because he had started going to conventions and events and realized how everybody kind of idolizes him, and he's very good at deflecting that stuff, but it really is like this just slightly exaggerated version of him on his like come up as like a local internet legend celebrity guy, and he's got this ego about it. And yeah, it's literally just like, I don't give a fuck. I'm Grant Kirkhope. It's just like, you are.
I don't rely on luck. I'm Grant Kirkhope.
Exactly.
You better shake that ass. I'm the twerk pope. Like, we made him say random awful things, and he said, yeah, this is great. It's not my fault he said yes.
Well, that's how he talks, though. That's the
true.
thing. Is like you have a conversation with him. He's just
when his wife and kids are around, he's very different. He's a very kind, gentle man.
And he will drink you under the table.
Oh,
Do
man.
not. I tried to go beer for beer with him at Con Bravo. Ended up breaking a pint glass while I was talking to him, and he like roasted me about it. And then the next morning, they surprised me by putting him on the same panel as me. I'm like more hungover than I've ever been in my life. He's had the same number of beers as me, and he's literally sitting at my own panel before I get there with his feet on the table, and he's like, how you feeling, buddy? I'm like, fuck you, Grant.
They put me, when I met Grant, they put me next to him in our signing tables. And so it was really weird because what people would do is they'd run up to Grant and they'd make him sign his copy, their copy at Banjo-Kazooie. And they get out of line and they go back into my line and have me sign the same copy. And he was like, who are you?
He's such an asshole.
And I sat there and I was like, I'm sorry, Grant. I'm just a guy on YouTube, man.
How do you even yes and that? You're just like, I have been emasculated.
Well, it's funny
destroyed.
because in that moment he was just like, who the fuck is this kid? I won a BAFTA, and I'm signing copies of Banjo-Kazooie and Grabbed by the Ghoulies and all these games I've worked on, and then this fat bearded guy over here is signing them too. What is this? And then I was like, I'm just a guy, and the people in line are like, he's the completionist, look him up. And I was like, ha ha, don't talk to Grant that way. And then in the time that happened, he texted his kid, and his kid wrote back, OMFG, can I get an autograph? And so he's like, hey, my son knows who you are. You seem pretty important. And then I was like, no, not really. He's like, well, my son loves you. And I was like, well, I love you. So does that mean you're my father now?
That's so funny.
And that's what broke the ice to then go get drinks. And he drank me under the table that night. I think it was the same night. He drank me, then he drank you.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he had 8 beers with you and then 8 more with me, and then the next day he's just like fine. I don't know.
Shook it off like nothing.
I mean, it's UK, just UK things.
It's in his blood.
His blood is beer. He
used to travel with.
Not many people know that.
He used to travel with Led Zeppelin, Guns N' Roses, and all those.
He used to be in a hair band.
Yeah,
a hair metal band. And I was like, how did you get into video game music? And he's like, I was in a hair metal band and it wasn't working out. So I said, I guess I'll try video game music. And he sent a cassette tape to Rareware, and they were like, cool. And they hired him. And his first gig was arranging David Wise's Donkey Kong Country 2 soundtrack for the Game Boy version, Donkey Kong Land 2, because nobody wanted to compose for Game Boy, because writing Game Boy music back in the day was even more difficult than it is now with trackers. So he was just doing grunt work that Dave Wise didn't want to do.
He hated it, and he used that soundtrack to make GoldenEye. And that's how he transitioned from working on Donkey Kong Land 2 into GoldenEye.
But just to hear him tell it of just like, I don't know, the hair metal wasn't really working out. Like, yeah, no shit, hair metal wasn't working out, dude. What did you think you were gonna take off? But
in the 90s, nonetheless.
When hair metal had been,
phase.
it's the body has decomposed. Hair metal does not exist, and he was trying that, and but just to hear him just be like, I just thought I'd try it, and then he goes on to do Donkey Kong 64 and frickin' Banjo-Kazooie, and then shrugs it off. Just another day at the office.
I guess I'll go be famous now in a different field. So we released the album in the fall of 2015. It was #1 for 3 months on billboards. It was really life-changing. It was really fun, and I wish there was more to the story outside of that. We've been working on album 2 basically since album 1, and it's not that it's taking forever because we're struggling to make it. Jake Kaufman would also go on to win a bunch of awards, and then he
deserved. And
he made a bunch more music, and he ended up composing for things like OKKO, Mau Mau. He went on to compose he worked on this D&D app that has music for campaigns. Like, you download the app, and if you're having a D&D show, you can program it, and it's it elevates on the settings and stuff. And so he just was so hard to get a hold of that, unfortunately, the second album is not going to have Jake on it. And it's not because we don't want Jake or we don't love Jake. It's taken 7 to 8 years to make this album because we haven't had Jake. And so we've just been waiting and waiting and waiting. And so this next album is going to have a new generation of people that most people will recognize. We're going to release a remix album of the first album, and that's why Ben did the remix you're going to hear at the rave tomorrow night. Hyper Potions did a track.
Let's go. They're also playing.
Hell yeah.
Well, one of them is playing.
Yeah. James Landino did a track. We have Jack from Toxic Eternity. He did a track. And so, we're going to release this remix album, and then we're going to do our next album. So the first album our band name is called Big Bad Bosses, and the name of the album was Power Overwhelming because it was a StarCraft reference. And then the next album, which is the second album, we're calling it, I think it's called B4, even though it's the second album and it's B3 is the acronym. It's a prequel album. So it's a comedy narrative album that tells the story of how Bowser, Ganondorf, Sephiroth, and Robotnik, how they got in their boy band. And it's basically the Beatles' whole collection of traveling through the ages. So they start off in the 1950s, like doing Beach Boys-esque, like, I am the boss, bop, bop, ba-doo, bop. And then it kind of goes until like the 80s and hair metal, ironically enough. And then it ends with boy band music. And that's kind of like the lead into what that is. And then if we do a third album, it'll be the aftermath of what happened after the success of the first album, which is all of them had drug problems and had kids and got old, and it ruined everything.
I just...
Thank you for laughing.
I had no idea that... I just love hearing that there's so many Easter eggs and there's so much thought and care put into it. Like the fact that these are concept albums. Like I was just like, man, these songs are really well produced and they're really catchy and they're really funny. I just think it's good on you for like, you know, putting in the effort to make something that's like really special. I don't know. I'm just good job, I guess. I'm hearing all this for the first time. I'm kind of standing in for you guys because I didn't know the full backstory. I just thought it was good shit. So
thank you. Yeah, if you've been following me for a while, you know that I don't like to phone it in. I have to give it 150%. That's my whole thing.
You work too hard on something?
Yeah. I have
so lazy.
I don't sleep. But yeah, it was one of those things where I didn't think there would be another music opportunity available. This was my one shot. And that's kind of how I view all things that I do, right? Like, I'm going to try selling merch. If I don't do well with merch, then I'll never do merch ever again. And then I've been doing merch for like 7-8 years, and now I do it myself, and it's really lucrative. Which, by the way, if you want to buy some merch, I have a suitcase here that I can sell you like a peddler. It's all I have. So, thank you. Yeah. Thanks for the. I'll take the claps. Yeah, you know, for B3, that was our big thing for us, was like, we don't think we're ever going to make a second or third album, so let's go stupid hard on the first one and hope that it leaves an impression. And because of the rise of Spotify, I have been able to make more money off the album than when we first launched. So when we made the first album, we did super well, but like it died after like 6 months. And then Spotify showed up and changed the game, and now it's like I'm releasing Big Bad Bosses once every 6 months, which is really, really cool.
We call that passive income.
I love passive
very
income.
important
Isn't
for
it
musicians.
Great? I love it. I love passive. That's why I want to make.
That's how I got here.
That's why I want 10 albums, so I don't have to work ever again.
Yeah, honestly though, like not to pivot, but like planting seeds is like the only tried and true way to make money in music. You know, you just have to release stuff and make sure that it's available.
Yeah.
And the numbers on that album are no joke. I looked them up the other day. You got some. I mean, it's all hits.
Yeah, every album. There's one. The ironic thing is that the least popular track on the album is my track, which. That's hard to shake.
Ooh.
Hard to shake when you're the least talented person on the album and everyone else is.
Hey, don't talk about my friend like that.
No,
he's talented.
I'm trying. So yeah, that's basically the story of Big Bad Bosses. We have a half an hour left. I didn't think we'd get through it so quickly.
I got backstory on the remix.
Yeah, go for it.
I can vamp all day. But so you approached me to remix it, and I was just so happy to do, like, the fact that the one track that you specifically wanted for me was the Grant track. That meant so much to me because we had that experience of, you know, you met me for the first time, and all three of us met each other for the first time at Con Bravo.
Within like hours of each other.
Yeah. And I think that was the fastest song that I'd ever finished because
I asked you in 48 hours it was born.
Yeah, and I don't remember if it was like you'd given me a deadline and I procrastinated until the last second. That does sound like me. But I remember I sat down and it was like pulling a thread from my brain. I got the idea of like, I'm Grant Kirkhope, and then like found a couple of synth patches that I really liked. And yeah, like I think total time spent on the project was like less than 6 hours. I think I actually did it in like 3 hours. Like 3 to 6 hours, and the track was done. Like, and it's still, I go back and listen to it, I'm like, man, this is still one of my favorite things I've ever made, because like culturally and just like spiritually as your friend, it's just like, this sounds like a celebration of the fact that we know each other and we find each other funny and we're all talented and cool. But just from a production standpoint, and you guys can hear it at the main stage rave tomorrow night, it's just a banger. And like, I don't always make things that I think are bangers. And the fact that I just like made something that's like really solid and like has some really good riffs is just like, I don't know. It's very rare that a song that to me sounds like my best work happens in like less than a day. You know, it was literally one sitting. I got the whole thing done, and then I woke up the next day and I like did a little bit of polish and I sent it to you, and it was donezo.
Yeah, we were at some point right before the pandemic started, 2019. We had written out the whole album, how we were going to do it, how we were going to make it, and the strategy was we always joked about how we were going to do 1 of 2 albums before our next album, or actually 3. There was three roads, and we chose the one that we thought that made the most financial sense. The first one was a gender bender album where it's a all-female pop band, and they just do covers of all the first album. So it's just like, you know, Bowsette all the way through the rest of the crew, right? That was kind of the idea. The second one was
relevant to my interests.
The second one was remix the whole album, just taking the stems and giving them to artists you all know and love, like Ben, like Hyper Potions, James Landino, so on and so forth.
The boys.
The third one, what was the third one? Oh man, it escaped my head. Oh, it's gonna come back to me. But yeah, the idea. The third one was we're just going to release the album again and act like we changed everything, and see if anyone noticed.
Unhinged. Never in a million years did I think that's what you were about to say. Our third idea was to do nothing as a bit.
Yeah,
I love it.
And just act.
Spotify doesn't care. You can upload anything to Spotify.
Dude, Spotify, you can upload silence and make millions of dollars.
I'm not even going to get into it. I got beef with people who illegally upload video game music to Spotify, but at the same time, publishers don't put their music up there, so it's like, thanks, I guess, but also you suck. Yeah, I don't know. It's tough.
Yeah. So yeah, we chose obviously the route of revamping the music through the lens of, you know, I forgot. T. Lopes of Sonic Mania fame,
the boy,
and now TMNT and everything in between. He was a big fan of mine, and he was like, "I'd love to work with you." And I was like, "Funny thing, I've got a music thing." I sent him Big Bad Bosses. He didn't know it existed. He became obsessed with it. And this was like just like a year after Sonic Mania came out, and there was no intention of doing a remix album yet. He just took his favorite track and was like, "Hey, you didn't give me the stems. You didn't give me anything. I just like remixed one of the tracks." And
it's a bootleg. We talked about that.
Yeah, and he just did it, and I took it and I went to Jake and I was like, "Hey, T. Lopes made this," and he was like, "Holy shit!"
So wait, did he just like recreate it from scratch with all his own instruments? Okay, so it's not a bootleg. Sorry.
But yeah, like I because Jake didn't want to give me the stems at the time because Jake thought I was trying to like screw him. But
yeah,
I mean it makes sense.
You of all people, you know, famously a snake, Jirard. Yeah,
a snake in plain sight, baby.
Yeah.
I'll sting you.
I had to send him the most predatory contracts just to keep him from stabbing me in the back. So I'm the audio director for his YouTube show.
Yeah,
that's technically why I'm up here. I composed because you came to me and you were just like, I'm gonna be honest. He was so sweet about it. He was like, I want to elevate my show. I want to bring some more personality to it, but I just want to help you out. You were very much like, I've always loved what you do. I've always loved you, and I want to help you get paid. I want to do something for you that also elevates. And now we have like 3.5 years worth of extremely hilarious like bait and switch Donkey Kong Country remixes.
Yeah.
And one of my fellow composers on the Completionist team, Floopy, is right here. Because I got to the point where I couldn't. Yeah, no, seriously, round of applause for Floopy. He's first time getting to meet everybody. It's very wholesome, but yeah, that's technically why I'm up here, because I'm relevant in that way. But
yeah, so every episode of The Completionist from episode 100 to 300 ends in the Donkey Kong Country 2 bonus track. That's like one of my favorite tracks of all time. And I went to David Wise, because I'm friends with him now, and I was like, hey, I'd love it for you if you composed a track for me for my show. And he was like, that would be really cool. My kid would love that. We should do it. And then I thought about it, and I was like, that's weird. That's just a little too weird to have him do it. And we talked more and more about it. And I was like, because I can't license the music officially. It's YouTube. It's that fair use gray area. But I felt like me working with Grant Kirkhope or David Wise doesn't elevate their careers. It elevates mine. And
I don't know about all that, but sure.
I mean, it depends who you're asking, right? But I had this essence of like, it just seems like I'm going to get a one and done commission from David Wise. And I wanted something a little more evolutionary, something that constantly changes, that gives you a reason to tune in. And so I was like, what if we made an original soundtrack for every single episode? That was like the genesis of it. Like, what if we had like the whole music be all original? So if anyone tries to come after me on YouTube, I give them the big middle finger and say I own all the music. Because that's a big, there's a $1 billion industry in YouTube in copyright claiming music that you own, but people say that they own it. So I wanted to avoid that. And the more I talked about it, it became really expensive and really crazy. And I was like, all right, what if we figure out a fun way to get people engaged? People are going to be disappointed they don't hear the DK2 bonus track. And so that's when I went to Ben and I said, hey, how do we make it so that every episode we freak people out with this music track without them realizing what they're listening to?
Yeah, your original vision, I think, was like, I want a different remix that matches the vibe of the episode of this one song. But it's the bonus theme. It's called Token Tango. It's just Jungle Japes, but it's kind of like a swing sort of big band version. It's what plays during the bonus levels in DKC2.
Yeah.
And your original vision was like, I want you to remix only this one song from this game in a different way for every single episode. And then very quickly it was like, but I'm running out of ideas. Like, it's just Token Tango, my friend. And then you had the idea for Resident Evil. He said, what if you combined the safe room theme with aquatic ambience? And I was like, that's not going to work. You're insane. And then so I got to work with some sound fonts trying to basically recreate aquatic ambience. I've never told you this. I have a project file of aquatic ambience recreated with sound fonts that is just done to the nines, perfectly done. Anytime I need to put aquatic ambience in something, or one of our team needs to, they just have it. Like, it's just done, and you can just pitch it up and down. But yeah, it just happened that the save room theme and aquatic ambience worked perfectly together, and that was like the first track that really popped off on my channel because I was uploading all of the soundtracks, and you were using them in the background. And then for Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, you were like, what if you did Sticker Bush Symphony, or Sticker Brush Symphony if you're asking the internet, in just using all traditional, like, Chinese and Japanese Asian instruments. And it became this very beautiful orchestral, emotional version of that song. And that shit popped off. That was like the first time I ever even like smelled the YouTube algorithm. And I was like, look at the number go up. It's crazy. And he's like, yeah, that's what it looks like sometimes. I'm like, duh. And it was
that
crazy.
happens every now and then. It's weird, right?
Because it's like it goes up and then it hits and then it goes like exponentially up and then it curves off again. But I had never had that happen before, and I was like, I'm like responding to comments, and I'm just like, oh, I'm YouTube famous now. I'm like, obviously, but I mean, that was great for me. The fact that you let me upload that stuff to my channel was like really great for my career, and we did that for like 2 years.
Yeah, we've remixed over 100 tracks.
It's insane. I was going through them like, oh, I want to play some of them at the show, and I'm like, the sheer volume of memes.
You could do a rave themed just around this.
Well, and that's the thing, is it eventually became like, it's Silva Gunner, but only Donkey Kong.
Yeah.
Which is even funnier.
Yeah.
Like, and the bit is, that it starts out and you're like, oh, this is just we try to make it sound as close to the original as possible, and then there's bait and switch, and it's like, it's Jungle Japes, and you're like, why? Like, what is that?
Yeah.
Or you put in the coconut gun, like, yeah, like it's
okay. Yeah.
And
I think for a while, you and I were like, let's let it linger. Let's like.
I got approached by Silva Gunner. They hit me up, and they were like, "Do you want to be a part of this collab project?" And I was like, I mean, I do, but like, I get paid to make the memes, so I didn't do that. I'm not that guy, I promise. But I was too busy at the time to do anything for free. But the fact that you were paying me to be Silva Gunner, but only Donkey Kong, to the point where Silva Gunner approached me to be a part of Silva Gunner. Insane. Like, what an honor to get that DM on Twitter. Sorry, I interrupted.
No, I just remember we had the first 5 or 6 of them. We were like, all right, where do we switch them with Donkey Kong? I think the first one we did, 401, was Metroid Zero Mission.
Metroid Zero Mission.
Yeah, and so it plays that, like, the first, like, dun, 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 dun,
I mean, here.
I guess, yeah, we can play it over the...
I can put it in the mic, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But...
there's some real lo-fi stuff
The
up in this.
Completionist Volume 1, now on Spotify.
Yeah, if you can hear...
Also, for anybody who's ever licensed video game remixes, the absolute nightmare of licensing 2 compositions per track for 15 songs on Sounddrop, like, oh my God. That's a job in and of itself.
Sorry.
No, don't apologize. But I accept your apology. It was a lot. Here we go. Metroid Zero Mission right here. Yeah, so this was the first one, I think.
Sounds like
Give me a second.
It's Metroid.
I recreated it.
Yeah, that sounds like Metroid. Yeah, there it is.
It kind of slaps. So that's the bit, right? The bit is, it sounds exactly like the original. And then the next one.
Crash Bandicoot.
These are like the 2 first ones we did.
They just sound so perfect.
It's very fun recreating stuff. It's Donkey Kong.
Yeah, every time.
And yeah, after about 5 of those, about 6 of those, I think we may have tapped the potential of Jungle Japes, my friend. Can we expand? And that's when we started including the original Donkey Kong Country and DK64, and it's just like, just Funny Monkey. Like, it's so good. But yeah, no, it's been such a fun job. And then eventually I was like, I am so tired of Donkey Kong music. Can I please just like hire a team of my most cracked, composers to do this for me? And you literally, without a second thought, you're like, no, I trust you. You know the best in the business. It's all the same to me. And then we brought on a bunch of new composers like Floopy, and you've been really instrumental, and no pun intended, you've been really helpful in genuinely putting food on my table and on the tables of my friends, and like that's literally why I do anything. So thank you, I guess.
Of course.
Wholesome moment.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Hell
clap
yeah.
for him. He's one of the good ones.
Clap for me. Yeah, I've been with my girlfriend for 7-8 years now, and she's an artist, and I've seen in her time so many people take advantage of artists. It's my least favorite thing to see. And
same.
Yeah, and so,
I started a whole business about it, actually.
Yeah, so I think that my rule's always been like, I don't care who or what happens, but when it comes to art, whether it be music, visual, performance, anything like that, the artists have to be respected first and foremost. And that's saying as someone who doesn't see themselves as an artist, but technically is an artist on paper.
Don't talk about my friend like that. I will end you.
We've got 10 more minutes. Do you guys have questions? We can just keep talking. Life is meaningless. It doesn't matter. We can just keep talking. Yeah, you in the back.
Because you're working with audio so much, what's your favorite gear, headphones, microphones? What's your fave?
Oh, man.
I'm just going to shout out the SM58 because it's a frickin' workhorse for $99. Like, if you need a starter microphone, like, it can do so much. It can do so much. It's just, and it hasn't changed. It's indestructible. You can throw it out of a skyscraper and it'll still work.
Let's just do it right now. Toss it from the 5th floor. See what happens.
No, there's an old like AV production joke that if you can't find a hammer, an SM58 will do.
Yeah, that makes sense. Personally, I've been using the SM7 Shure for many years. I'm one of the big problem. I'm a part of the problem that you're like, why does every YouTuber and streamer use this mic? Hi, I was one of the first ones. Sorry. I use that for my microphone, and then I think for my audio stuff, I just started using the Go XLR mixer recently, and I love that thing. That thing is fun and easy to use, and I'm always that guy that's like, I'm gonna buy the nice fancy gear, and I get it, and I'm like, I don't know how to use this. This was a mistake.
See, I'm the guy I've been a full-time professional music producer for the better part of I don't know how long, forever, and my whole career is music. I am using just an SM58, a crappy Scarlett 2i2 interface, some $150 each studio monitors, and like I don't even have a subwoofer, and I make EDM. So like if you're ever worried about not having enough gear to make music for a living, you can do it.
Yeah.
It's fine. But you maybe bounce your tracks off of some of your friends to make sure that, they don't sound horrible because you still don't have a subwoofer in 2022.
Subwoofer required. Thank you for the question. Any more questions? Yeah. It's just you. No, you're good. In this beard?
It's made of his own hair, if you can believe it.
So at G4, when I joined last year, the makeup artist was like, "What do you put in your beard?" And I was like, "Nothing." She was like, "Why don't you put something in it?" I go, "I don't know, because I've never had the idea to just put oil in my beard. That sounds gross." And she was like, "Oh, I'll find you the right ones." And so she found this like really nice earthy herbal one, and I was like, "Did you make this?" She's like, "No, it's my friend owns like an oil shop, so I just bought it from her." And I was like, "Oh, okay, I'll try it." My beard on camera like glistens like the rainbow. It's crazy. And since then, I always use it just because everyone always is like, "Wow, it's so shiny." It's very distracting. You forget all the bad things I'm saying. Just, wow, what a beard. Thank you. Any more questions? Yeah.
Do you have an idea about when the remix and then the next album's going to be coming out?
So we don't have a release date, but what I will say is if you see the remix album show up, it means that the second album is very close behind it. So once you hear us being like, "Hey, here's a remix of album 1," that's the appetizer before the main course. It's right around the corner. So we're going to use the remix album as a promotional tool for the second album, essentially. So
yeah, I've been dropping that track as an ID that thing's been done for forever.
yeah, it's been
An ID is an unreleased track that a DJ plays. Just a little terminology for you there.
yeah. I didn't even know he was playing it, but I don't care. To me, it's like people are gonna be like, "That's so cool," and I can never look it up ever again. So
I was gonna say I don't want to put you on the spot, but I do want to put you on the spot. Do you have the lyrics to Bears and Birds memorized?
not the Grant Kirkhope part, but
You don't have to do the
band.
Grant Kirkhope part.
All you haters can fuck right off. We've got more cash than Microsoft. Yeah.
I'm just saying, it would be my honor and their honor if you could maybe, you
want me to sing
get
it at
on
the rave?
stage tomorrow night and do a couple of verses, yeah?
Sure, why not?
And I do want to hijack the panel one last time and say, I reached out to Jirard. I'm the one who pitched Jirard as a guest to come here because he's close by-ish, and I think he's an absolute living legend, as I'm sure you guys agree. And when I asked him if he would be interested, he accepted without a second thought. And if you need any indication of what kind of guy he is and what kind of friend he is, when I say he's helped me and my friends at just an unspeakable amount, and the fact that he was willing to do this, thanks, man. It means a lot.
Of course.
So,
of course.
I don't know. I guess I'm taking credit for you being here. That's not what
it's
not what
true.
I meant. I was just.
If he did not ask me to be here, I would not be here. Mostly because
you can't buy that kind of power.
Well, this is no disrespect, but how many of you have been to MAGFest? MAGFest proper, right?
Wait, what's that?
Whenever MAGFest happens, and this is no shade to any MAGFest staff, MAGFest is my favorite show and my least favorite show. It's my favorite because all my friends go there. I love DC. I love the weather. I love Elevation Burger. I always eat there. I love that little area.
Fed.
Yeah, I love the vibe of the show. I've always had a bad experience at MAGFest because, one, I'm never recognized as an official guest, which means that I don't get badges or get help. But then I also get a panel, and then I'm stopped for like 10 hours a day signing autographs and doing photos and stuff. And then I get yelled at by MAGFest staff for like causing
How
problems.
dare you be popular at our event that needs popular
Well, that's the
guests?
thing is that you all know it's expensive to go to MAGFest, right? It's an expensive time. So for me to pay out of my own pocket to go to a show that I'm then basically signing autographs, shaking hands, kissing babies the whole time, to then never actually get to see my friends, play any of the tournaments I want to play in, see my friends perform myself. I don't get to do any of that. I'm just like chained to the floor. Like, one day I will make it to the game hall where I might play a round of Dance Dance Revolution. Until then, who wants a photograph? Come on, let's get in here, kid. So I that happened for like 3 or 4 years in a row, and eventually I just said I can't do it anymore. So I stopped going, and then they messaged me like, "Hey, why don't you go to MAGFest anymore?" And I was like, "Do you want to?"
I get buried.
Yeah. Do you want me to go? And they're like, "Well, we'll talk about it." And then it was never talked about ever again. So at least with MAGWest, it's West Coast. It's easy. I know San Jose. I know
more
the people.
intimate.
Yeah, it's easy. It's way easier to do. It'd be cool if this became like the second MAGFest in the way, right?
We would love that, wouldn't we?
It'd be sick. Yeah,
That's the goal.
that's the goal. That's the dream. So
That's why we get people like you.
yeah, yeah. If I didn't just embarrass all the MAGFest staff that are here, maybe I'll bring some friends with me next time to kind of, bring the crew.
It'd be pretty cool.
It would be pretty cool.
YouTubers in here.
Yeah.
It might be pretty cool.
Yeah, pretty cool.
You started talking and you're like, I love MAGFest, but I also hate MAGFest. And I'm just like, but no, it's fine. But this, like you said, this is I don't know. MAGWest is a great event, and it's a perfect fit, I think, and I think everybody really appreciates you coming through.
Yeah, of course. Anytime. I loved it. I love you guys. Yeah. Ow, God. You okay?
It's okay. I skateboard. I can't feel my shins anymore.
We got 3 more minutes, so if you guys got questions, you can raise your hands. I can also tell you about a stupid, dumb project I'm working on if you want to hear about that. You want to hear? Okay. This is really stupid. This is the stupidest thing I've ever done, and it's legitimately stupid.
That's saying a lot. No,
Yes, I've done a lot of dumb stuff. The thing I'm about to tell you all is the stupidest thing, and if any of you try to steal it, I will know, and I will murder you. But I don't think you can steal it, which is very exciting. So the Nintendo eShop closes down next year, right, in March. It's going away. At the end of August, you cannot redeem gift cards on the consoles themselves. If you want to purchase the games, you have to log into your Nintendo account on Nintendo.com and redeem gift cards through there to then go ahead and purchase games on the Wii U and the 3DS. So I said to myself, wouldn't it be funny if I downloaded and bought every single game on the Wii U and the 3DS store? So I started working on this idea back in February. I made a spreadsheet and I just went through the eShops, and I determined it's going to cost $19,000 to...
I'm sorry, $19,000?
$19,000 to digitally own every single Wii U and 3DS game. So that's where it started. So I was like, that's really funny. That's like,
I don't know
funny.
if funny is a word that I'd use for $19K, but
Well,
okay.
it's funny to me because it's like, this is like, who would do this?
Yeah?
I would do this.
You sure would.
Yeah. So immediately I was like, how do I make this entertaining? Because look, I'm not Mr. Beast. The YouTube landscape is changing so that if you want to be a popular guy, being funny, smart, clever, and interesting isn't enough. You have to burn it all down. You have to say, I'm going to spend 120 grand on an island, and then you, the viewer at home, gets to compete to win it for some dumb reason, and then you have to pay the taxes on it, but I don't tell you that. Anyways.
No, he's a philanthropist, everybody.
Philanthropist. So I said, okay, so how do I do my version of a Mr. Beast video? So $19,000. Great. There are some gigantic red flags in the way that I'm going to try and tackle. First being, I can't spend $19,000 on a credit card on the Nintendo eShop store because the Nintendo eShop store will not let you spend more than $250. So the only way to do this is to buy 425 Nintendo point cards. So last week,
I'm having a panic attack.
so no, this has been my. If you're like, I wonder what Jirard's up to right now, you'll know where I'm in my hotel room. So last Sunday, I split into teams of 3 with my group. It was me and my 2 producers, and we have our company credit cards, and we attacked every Best Buy, every Sam's Club, every Lowe's, every Home Depot, every Walmart, every GameStop, and we were on a mission to get $19,000 in $50 gift cards to the Nintendo eShop. Pro tip, if you're gonna do this, Home Depot, they don't give a fuck. You can walk in there. I had to explain to my brother why I had a $7,000 credit card charge at Home fucking Depot. He was like, you better tell me you're building a set. And I was like, God, no, I'm not. The worst place was Target, because they only let you take 5 cards at a time, and so it's $250, and they had like $3,000, so I had to sit there. Every line I went into, the Target rep was mad, the line behind me was mad, the manager was mad, and I'm like, here's 5, charge.
This was in person?
I did this all in person, absolutely, yes.
All right.
I stormed the castle.
I'm gonna head out.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody. This guy's crazy.
It's not even, that's the thing, is that's just the beginning. So last Sunday I did this, and I got the $19,000. Great. Second thing, the Nintendo 3DS, for those of you guys that don't know, only has 32 gigs of space. It is tiny. That's enough for maybe 4 first-party Nintendo 3DS games, and that's it. So what I did was I found a guy in New York City who modifies 3DSs. I sent him my 3DS, and he put in a terabyte microSD card in the 3DS, so I can actually purchase every single one. Red flag 2 out of the way. Red flag 3, the Nintendo eShop cards, or the store, does not let you redeem more than $250 at a time, which means what I have to do is, out of my stack of 425 cards, I take 5, turn it over, scratch the back, type them in, do it 5 times. Then I have to spend it before I can redeem them. So it's 5, redeem, 5, redeem, 5, redeem, 5, redeem. I've been doing this every day for the last 4 days.
Just quick context, a 1 terabyte micro USB card is retailing for $170, which to me is a lot, but now we're talking in terms of 19,000, so never mind.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter, because
Yeah.
I already spent, the money's gone. I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You are.
Yes,
that is what you
I
are, objectively.
Today, the best part is that
I guess somebody's got to do it.
someone has to do it, and that's someone.
No, they don't. That's the thing.
But here's the thing, though. When the video comes out, it's going to be sick, right?
It's going to be funny.
It's going to be a shit show. And my favorite part about it is the whole thing is it's a data dump. Like, think about it from this perspective. I spent $19,000 on 425 cards. Each card has a 16 hexagon code that I have to type into the computer. And then I have to turn on a Wii U and a 3DS that have awful store integration and load so slow, and then sit there and press download and watch these little fucking light bulbs move and drop into this box that then turns it into a little box that I unzip, and that's the thing. And I take that and I put it in a folder, and I do it over 3,422 times.
This is what you choose to do with your finite time on this earth with a human consciousness. Unbelievable. All I know is if you need me to do like an eShop remix that
Oh, you know it.
that suddenly becomes Donkey Kong, I got you, all right?
We're gonna have to do our own version of
I'm just gonna, but you did tell me the budget already, so I might need a raise on that one.
Look, if you're ever I know. The reason why
It is funny.
The reason why I don't make enough money on YouTube. I didn't take it from my Patreon or anything like that, or my merch, or even B3 sales. I did a lot of really stupid mobile games, and I just freaking trade Shadow Legends type stuff, right? So whenever you see those ads, and you on my channel, you can go, That's for the big video that's coming.
Okay, you know what? That's wrapped it back around. The fact that you're using Raid Shadow Legends money to do the dumbest thing anyone's ever done, that's ridiculous. Okay, I'm on board now. I'm with it.
I will say, we are out of time, but I will say there is a show concept that I was going to make that I canned because this was my makeup to it, is I wanted to make a show called Fuck This Game. And it,
I literally used to have a show called Fuck This Game on Twitch.
Yeah?
And I would just play bad games.
Yeah.
I was a very angry drunk
This
man.
this one is, it was based on mobile games and the predatory nature of spending money. And so I was like, it would be great if like I found Genshin Impact to pay me a bunch of money and then show you how much money it took for me to complete spending everything in Genshin Impact. It'd be so much money. I thought it'd be so funny. And then I realized that there are streamers out there who are doing that with Diablo Immortal, and immediately my concept was dead. So, anyways, thank you for coming to the panel. I hope you had a good time. Thank you all for being here. If you see me around this weekend or right now afterwards, we can take a photo, we can sign an autograph, we can hang out. If you want to buy merch, I can sell you merch. It's in my suitcase in my hotel room, so I have to go grab it and come down. But if you want it, just let me know. And yeah, everyone give it up for Ben. Thank you for joining me, Ben.
I thank you for having me. Thank you for agreeing to be here. All I want to say is come see us on stage at the rave during my set. And also, if you're happy that Jirard is here and, that kind of brings you some joy, maybe, when you got that attendee feedback form, maybe you say...
Yeah, say Jirard,
something
Jirard
about
was
it.
fun. Jirard didn't...
He did us a huge solid by coming through. We really appreciate him. So give it up for him. Give it up for yourselves.
Yeah. Bye, everyone.
That was really fun. Yeah, thanks for coming, man. Yeah, I mean, turned out we needed to fill 30 minutes anyway, so.